what you say. I'm the worst at it. I'll throw some little quip out there that I probably shouldn't have sometimes. But anyways, let me see. Let's go to gallery view. Like I was saying earlier before many of you joined, is I have no agenda, no specific topic to discuss. If somebody is interested in doing a sound check, we can work through your issue one-on-one as we go through. I did post a video on TAC yesterday about the settings with Zoom, and I've learned a little bit more on your computer and your connection. I've always felt that Wi-Fi is not optimal. If you have a good, strong Wi-Fi signal, you can get away with it. But when you start using the enhanced music mode, what that means is the bits and bytes that are being sent through the internet, it's sending more. And when it's sending more info, you need a bigger pipe or a better connection. And sometimes Wi-Fi won't keep up with it, so you won't sound bad, but you will chop. It's get all technical. There's packet loss. It can't keep up, so you'll get choppy. But the quality of the sound that's going through won't be bad. You'll just cut in and out if your connection can't keep up. So that's the good thing. Welcome, Steve. Since you just got on, I just want you to know that I'm recording. So, he's not connected yet. So that's the big thing is internet connection plays a bigger role than some people might think. We're sending more data than just opening a web page and submitting a form on the internet. There's a lot going through. But to prove the point that a good quality signal can go through, if you listen to Spotify or any music streaming service, you hear that fine. Those come through crystal clear, all digital and sound great. We're doing the same thing. We're doing the exact same thing. We can't bring our performance level up to a, Apple Music or CD quality as far as the levels go, but the quality is the same. So that's that. One other thing for those that do open mics or, large group gatherings, the mute button is very important. Very important at these. Even if you've done meetings at work and whatever, and you have 40 people from your department on, and there's always the one person that has they're unmuted, and you can hear their dishwasher or the little kids running around the background, grandpa, so it's mute button's important. And when we run the open mics on Fridays, we mute everybody just as an insurance factor, but really we shouldn't even have to do that. If you're not talking, be muted. Simple. In a large group, in a small group like this, we could all be unmuted, and we couldn't play because we would be fighting over. Zoom prioritizes the strongest signal. So the strongest signal that it's receiving, it assumes that person's talking. So it tries to like block everybody else out. That's why you can't play together. Forget the timing issue. The timing is the latency and being out of time and everything. That's one thing. But Zoom itself doesn't know who's speaking. It doesn't know who to prioritize the signal to. So I like to see mute button on if you're not talking, and I'm not the sound police. And a lot of times after somebody performs, everybody wants to say something, so we unmute. That's fine, but you probably notice that's when all mayhem breaks loose. And there's a lot of cutting out, and you probably weren't heard. You said something really eloquent and it's supportive, and the person didn't even acknowledge. And you're like, oh, crap. Well, you were probably cut out by somebody else, So that's just part of the game. Welcome in. So mute button and headphones. That's the other thing. In this environment, what we're doing right now, it's not super important. But if you have an external microphone, let me grab. So let's say you have your external microphone sitting on your desk and you're not muted and you're listening to Zoom through your speakers. What happens when you're not muted? When somebody says something, it goes out the speaker and into the microphone and back out to Zoom. So we hear it over and over and over again. And sometimes your echo will go out the speaker in my head. It just goes da 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 da, and it just keeps going forever. It's so I'm a big proponent of using headphones. When are they not required? If you're using a laptop with the built-in speaker and the built-in microphone, because it kind of does its thing to block you, and it does have a little bit of feedback protection. But even in that case, I'd throw some earbuds in or a headphone. It's just, your experience probably won't change at all, but it changes it for everybody else because they're not hearing all the other stuff. And something else about sound. If you've ever watched somebody they post their YouTube video on TAC and then you're on your phone and you hit play, you got to try that with headphones on sometimes because they will sound way better. The little speaker sounds like doo-doo on your phone. It really does. I don't know anybody that streams music on their phone speaker and just turns it up and listens to it like that. It doesn't sound very good. So that's that. Does anybody have any questions on anything very specific that we can get us going in some direction? And you can unmute to say that. All right. It looks like everybody's being shy. Julie, I think I saw you changing your microphone. Was I correct?
Yeah, I did. I put the other one on.
Okay. So I have one of those. I have the same microphone, and it's right here. I don't remember where my camera is. Same microphone. So it requires phantom power, which I can hear you, so you figured that part out. If you wanted to use that,
Yeah.
let me rearrange my desk. Let's say that this is your only source. So the first thing you want to do is put it halfway between the guitar neck and your mouth. Okay, mic position is key here. It's super, and it's hard. It takes a lot of fiddling. So once you get it there, you want to strum your guitar and see the light. It's probably plugged in. It's not the USB version, is it? It's plugged into your Scarlett?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want the light of the channel that's just to be flashing green. You know, when you're playing at playing volume. And the guitar will always be the weakest because the guitar isn't very loud. You might think it's loud if you live in an apartment, but the guitar is really not very loud. If you were playing your guitar and singing it.
Let me change my
Okay.
my thing.
If you were playing in your apartment and singing, your neighbors would only hear you singing. They really wouldn't hear the guitar. So, which in my case, with the yucky voice, I'm sure they love it when I practice. But anyways. And Julie's internet connection keeps cutting in and out, which is kind of proving my point. It's not bad, but sometimes you freeze and sometimes you don't. And one way to free up your internet connection is in your Zoom settings.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Oh, can I share Zoom? Yeah, I believe I can. Okay. So are you seeing this settings box or no?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so in video, if you turn off HD, that'll lower the amount of bandwidth required to send your video. That helps a little bit if you have a slower connection. So.
Okay. Let me get to it. Settings.
And these are all such minuscule changes. Thank you, Beatrice. I think these are all just minuscule changes that you probably won't even notice on your end. You're just trying to get the most you can out of what you have. This fancy setup I have here is definitely not required for playing music on Zoom and everybody having a good time. I don't know anybody that sits around a campfire and breaks out their pedal board and their amplifier. No, we just play and we sing, and that's just the way it is. So as long as we can reproduce that sound out, we're doing great. We're way ahead of the game. So, all right, Julie, made any progress?
Yeah, I've found all my settings.
Okay.
Gotten my sound out of my headphones.
Okay. And you're talking through your AT 2020, right?
All right, let's have fun.
Brandon, where do you find the settings on your screen?
Okay. Are you on a tablet or a computer?
Computer.
So down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see two big buttons. One says mute and one says stop video. There's a little arrow next. Yeah. There's a little arrow next to those. And you'll click the up arrow. Either up arrow is fine. You can get to them both from the same place. And then, like, let's say you did it next to video. You'd hit the up arrow and hit video settings, and that'll bring up the settings screen. The way I have Zoom configured, I can't show you.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So, and then if you want audio on the
No,
left.
I found it.
Okay. All right. So, Julie.
Yeah, I've got a slow connection, so I'm going to try to, I'll play with it.
Okay. Give us a strum, Julie.
Okay.
Sounds beautiful.
It's clear.
It's super clear.
That's so nice to hear.
It's super clear. Now, some people are saying, oh, but that was really soft. Remember, you don't have a PA speaker. You can't turn it up for all of us. The only thing you can do is add gain. And when you add gain, that could actually hurt the sound. You might want to turn the scarlet knob. I'm talking, if it was, you're looking at a clock, turn it up not even an hour and try it again. That was quieter for some reason. Is your light turning green?
Not yet.
Okay, just keep going in like 1 hour increments until your light is green. Oh yeah.
Okay, 6 o'clock seems to be magical.
All the way 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock?
12, sorry.
Yeah. I think with that microphone on my older Scarlett, it was 1 o'clock was the sweet spot, but that's fine, whatever works. So if you give it a solid strum, not a rock star strum, but you know how you're gonna play, and it flashes green, then you probably don't need to touch that ever again. Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
So now, if you were to sing, are you a singer or just a player? Do you sing?
I'm just a player.
Okay, then what you want is
I'm being forced to.
I understand.
She sings only with flesh.
Okay, what you want
That's right.
is, let
And
me
when
see.
Steve makes me.
I can't get tall enough here on my microphone. So I'll just hold it up here. And I got to get everything in line with the microphone. See, this is what's deceiving. This is going to be a little life advice right here. When you watch a YouTube video on mic placement, that microphone is probably not where you see it. First of all, this microphone right now looks like it's super close to me, and it's not. It's 2 feet. If they're angled like this, that might look like it's way up the neck, but it's really not. The guitar is just closer to you. So you really have to play with microphones. So if you're not going to sing, I would place the capsule, the center of the grill on that microphone, and aim it right here, right where the neck is attached to the body. And that's your starting point. And I would do it a good solid foot away, and start there. Now, as you'll notice, well, that's not plugged in, so you can't hear me. As you notice, if you move this way and basically moving the microphone further up the neck, your tone will go higher. You'll have a higher tone. You'll remove the bass. If you go this way, you'll start to really sound deep. And the way you can test that, do you have GarageBand or anything? Julie?
Which one are you talking to?
Julie, do you have like GarageBand or do you record into anything?
Yeah, I'm in GarageBand.
Okay, so all you do is you get that microphone placed right where in the starting point, hit record in GarageBand, and then start playing and move around and move farther away. And you're not going to hear any difference because this microphone's not plugged in, but move farther away, move closer. Another thing you could do is turn the microphone so it's still in front of the fretboard, but it's pointing at the sound hole. It's been turned. And that way the sound hole air, think of this as a leaf blower. I mean, the sound hole, all the air is coming out of there. Most of the sound's coming out of here. So you're going across it, so you're still getting the bass, but you're not getting the boom. And these things are all really hard to explain, but you'll see. I mean, if you put your guitar right up to the microphone,
Yeah.
it'll sound crappy.
Okay.
If you get too far away, you will start to cut out a little bit. Up the neck is brighter. Behind the sound hole on the bridge can still be super clear, but it's darker. It's a darker tone. So it's really all song related. I guess I could turn my microphone on and show you. But like I said, the camera makes, even with my other camera, the camera makes it all weird. Because you think, okay, I'm going to put it right where he has it. Well, it probably wouldn't be right where this is because of the camera angle and everything. So I know I'm confusing this. The starting point is neck meets the bridge, a foot away, neck height. If you're just going to play guitar. And you can actually play with lower than that. If you're going to sing, I do it in the same spot. Ian did this last Friday. I do it in the same spot, but I tilt the microphone a little bit towards my mouth, but it's still down here, equal with the neck, a foot away, but pointed up, because your voice is way louder than the guitar. You don't need to get it way up here. So you sounded great, Julie, and like I said, is somebody's going to tell you you're not loud enough. And to a certain extent, that's not your problem. Because they control their speaker. They control the speaker. So, I mean, you can be too soft, but if your light's green, and let's say you just really Pete Townsend and really hammer one, it might turn yellow. But as long as it never turns red, ever,
Okay.
ever. In the digital world, especially streaming, it should never turn red, ever. So, do you want to play something for us? You want to dazzle us with your, if everybody mutes while she does this. Okay, let me interrupt you for a second. You can actually keep playing. I want everybody to turn their volume up and see how it maintains its clarity, and you're making it louder. Go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry. Awesome.
How was that?
That was great. It sounded awesome. It's crystal clear. Your Wi-Fi connection every now and then would get a chop, but it was no big deal. I mean, that's just part of the game. That happens.
Okay.
I would play around with mic position in GarageBand, just so you'd know. And this is easily reproducible, because once you realize, oh, I want it at neck height, and I want it at the 10th fret because I like that tone, and turn back a little bit towards the sound hole because, the microphone left and right is like your tone knob. It's like the tone knob on electric guitar, so you can actually change the tone, and it varies from guitar to guitar also. But that's the default position works pretty good. We could hear your finger slides, but they weren't so loud because your gain was cranked that they were ugly. It was part of the way the song was being played, and it was perfect. String squeaks are part of the process. You can't get rid of them altogether, and you wouldn't want to. So I thought you were good and balanced. I don't know. Everybody thumbs up if they agreed. And as you turned it up, it sounded good. Now that's a pain during open mic because you're going to be, then all of a sudden everybody comes on and somebody has their gain on too loud. You're like, so you got to play with your volume knob, but works good. Do you have any other questions, Julie?
Well, when Kirk plays and he plays with his reverb, is that from GarageBand that he does that and then it transfers to Zoom, or does he do it on like the echo of his room? How does he?
No, he does it through. You can't do it through GarageBand, but you can do it through Apple's MainStage. Is the cheapest solution. That's $29. I did a video on how to do that, or you can do it through a mixer. So I can turn my reverb up if I want, if you have a mixer, So
Okay.
everybody either love reverb or you hate it, but the sad news is everything you hear has reverb on it. Everything. So if you you're going to have to use software if you're going to play your guitar truly acoustically through a microphone. You have to get just search content I've started, and I did a little video on it's not for the faint of heart. You got to really do some routing stuff on your computer, but your computer is more than capable of handling it. It's just your threshold. Do I want to buy 2 pieces of software and spend $120, which is the same price as a reverb pedal. So however you want to look at it. Do you have an amp?
Okay.
Do you have a Loudbox Mini?
Yeah, I do.
Do you like the sound of the reverb out of that?
Yeah, it's sitting right beside me.
Okay. What you can do,
It's okay. Yeah.
but so you already have reverb you could use on Zoom with that, because the Loudbox Mini has a DI out on the back of it. There's a little XLR plug on the back that says DI out. So from that point, you would plug your microphone in. Does the Loudbox Mini have phantom power or no?
I'll tell you that in a minute.
Does anybody know?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, then you would plug your microphone into the Loudbox Mini. You would plug the DI out into your Scarlett.
Okay.
And you can play with that. And then you can, when you get it all dialed in and it sound good coming out of the Loudbox Mini speaker, you just turn master all the way off. And then the rest of the signal is still going to your Scarlett and then out to Zoom. I gave you the high level way to do that. You're going to have to figure out a few of those steps, but it works just fine. That's what Omar does. Omar runs from a amp to a mixer, and the mixer into his computer through USB, and he has the amp volume, the master out, basically turned all the way down, and he has the gain set for his guitar and his vocal, and then it just runs through and out to Zoom. That's why you get Omar sounds just like he would if he was playing out in a coffee shop. He has that dialed in that way. So an amp with a DI out, as long as it takes the whole signal out, not just the dry signal, which the Loudbox Mini does. You can use that. You can chorus and whatever. If you had an artist, there's a couple more effects on there, I think. Gain staging on that, might as well just go into that while we're here. The way you would do this is just like the TC Helicon people that have a pedal that they plug their guitar or their microphone into, is you set it there first. You set it on the amp first. So you want to make sure you have the appropriate amount of gain going to the amp, and then you plug it into the Scarlett, and you only make an adjustment to get the green ring on the Scarlett based on what the amp's sending it, but it has to be set correctly first. That's where the word stage comes in gain staging. So you set it at the source. If you're going to plug your guitar in, you would set it at the guitar, then you set it at the amp, and then you set it at the interface. So, and one thing is it doesn't have to be super hot into the amp, because when you add reverb, that actually adds to the signal, so the signal's going to come out hotter out of the DI out. So I should buy a Loudbox Mini and do that for people. Do that one, because I think that's an option. A lot of people ask about reverb and chorus, for example, and tone control versus, instead of just the Scarlett knob. A lot of people have a Loudbox Mini sitting on their shelf, and they could actually use that for this. So, all right, Julie, sounding awesome. Steve, did you want to do some try? Got your headphones? I rarely see you with a guitar in your lap.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to see if I do come through.
What kind of connection do you have out there where you're at?
Satellite.
Okay, I would probably turn your video off, because there's no reason to send. Well, you can leave it on for now, or either way, it doesn't matter. Satellite is it's getting better, but you got to send a lot of information. It's line of sight, so it only goes up and back down. But it's yeah, go ahead, give us a strum. Sounds good. It's coming through. It's coming through. Like I said, your video doesn't even move sometimes, so we're not going to watch you play with satellite. That's, I mean, we're not going to be able to see your hand movements, because they're going to, but the sound was fine. I mean, thumbs up, thumbs down if somebody disagrees. Okay, got a lot of thumbs up. What are you playing through? Is your guitar plugged in?
No.
Okay, so you're just playing through a microphone?
Yeah, well, through to the laptop.
Okay, so the laptop microphone.
Right.
Okay, what I would do, that you actually sounded fine. Keep track of where your laptop is right now. But depending on what laptop you have, the speakers are or not the speakers, the microphones might be the front edge. Some of them are on the hinge, by the hinge where the lid meets the body on one side, depending on the model. You can actually look that up and find out where that is, because if you're like recording a track or playing and you're monitoring and it's like just too dark, then you might want to just turn the laptop a little bit. And what I found with the phones, which I tried to demonstrate earlier, was, and the laptops are the same, is having the unit placed up the neck, 5th, 6th fret, the camera basically. So, because that puts, if your laptop's a 13-inch laptop, that puts the microphone, if it's in the front corner, which most of them are, it puts the microphone about where the neck meets the body. But you sounded great. It came right through. You're going to get choppy. I mean, okay. But it's not, what makes it to the moon and back sounds good. But not everything's going to make it to the moon and back. If that makes sense. So, and I would definitely try turning your video off, and it might it's not going to make the quality any better, but you might not cut out as much. And I don't know if you were here before on the video settings. No, your video's staggering though. Your video's stopping and starting. But your sound is good. I mean, it's 220 millisecond round trip to satellite and back. So you got to be patient when you ask Steve a question because he's not going to answer it right away. On your video settings in Zoom, you probably want to turn off HD if you have that on. If you're going to leave the video on, you want to send us the crappiest video you can. You know where that is, that setting?
Yeah, it's off.
Okay. That helps. No, you're coming through. It's not like you just disappear. I'm not saying with 50 people on, you won't disappear. I mean, when on the open mics, you hear us fine? Or do we cut out also coming
Yeah,
inbound?
I can hear it fine.
Okay.
No, I can hear everybody fine.
Then I think you're good to go. I mean, with what you got sitting there, I think you fine. I know that's why you've been reluctant to play is because of satellite. But give it a go.
Yep.
I mean, what you played was actually had some detail to it, and I could hear all the detail. Ian, you heard it all, right?
I heard it. I got a question for you, Steve. Are you using Wi-Fi in your house, or is your laptop hardwired in? And Brandon, you think that would make a difference?
He's on satellite internet, so.
Yeah, but how does the laptop connect to the satellite? Got to be a router or something going through the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right to my left or right hand. It's not hardwired though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. If you had the cable connected, it would send more signal, maybe, or faster. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not a tech guy.
The thing is, Wi-Fi is faster than satellite. Okay, so let's say we're at 54 bits per second. All right, satellite is the same thing, so it doesn't matter. Ethernet is faster than Wi-Fi, so it can take advantage of your 1 gigabit connection. So Wi-Fi, you can try wiring it in and see if it gets a little faster. Just do a speed test online. Just type in speed test and see if it's faster or not.
But it sounds like it's a pipeline issue. It's at the other end as opposed to from the front end.
Right.
So no matter how much water you push through, if you have a pipe this big, let's say, it's not going to be as great as if it was a bigger pipeline. That's what I'm saying.
Right. I'm saying
The throttle's in the satellite, not the in the home.
right. That's from his router to the satellite can only handle 1 pound per hour, and Wi-Fi can only send 1 pound per hour, so there's no bottleneck there. But Ethernet can send 5 pounds an hour, so he can send 5 pounds an hour to the router, and the router is going to throttle that to 1 pound an hour anyways. So, and if you know, I can do 100 pounds an hour out, and my Wi-Fi does 75 pounds an hour, but my computer hardwired can use all 100 pounds an hour. So it doesn't. There's no choke point. What do you Hughes satellite?
No. It's you know, I think it is. Yeah, it is used as satellite, right?
There's only 2, so I had a 50-50 chance. Maybe I'll.
You got it right then.
All my spare time, I might look that up and see what sort of bandwidth. Where are you at? You in Montana?
No, Wisconsin,
Oh, okay.
the northern section.
Yeah, very. Okay. I think you're good to go. You want to play some more? You want to fiddle, or do you satisfied? I thought it sounded great.
No, as long as it sounds all right, I'm fine.
Okay.
I never knew how it sounded.
Right. Now, when you get your video back, it's going to be a little darker. It's the only term I can use. It's when if you can't send a 0 to negative -0.1 dB signal, it's going to compress and normalize the volume when the video is encoded. So sometimes you'll get your videos back and they will sound a little, not as clear. And that's not you. You didn't sound that way when you played. You sounded great. It's the compression of the data when it gets normalized for volume and makes sure no peaks go over 0 when the video is written and encoded. That's why it's such an art to master to iTunes or master to Spotify. The closer you can get your master to what they are going to encode it at, the less they mess with it, if that makes sense. So you've probably all noticed you're listening to Zoom and you got your volume set a certain amount, and then you forget to change it and you load iTunes and it's louder than hell. Right. And that's just volume. That's not more gain. It's not gained any higher. They've just trimmed the volume up. I mark a spot on my little dial here, and I strive to not have to change my volume when my signal's going out versus when I listen to iTunes. And it's going to be less. So I'm trying to keep these more on topic. I have a really bad habit of, next thing you know, we'll be talking about, the carpet that I chose for my studio. So, all right. Good job, Steve. That's awesome. And actually, I recorded this. You're going to have to fiddle through 2 hours of video, but you were early, so you'll be able to hear it when I post it. So, and you can always record yourself through Zoom. You know that. So that's a good way to test. Or if you want to dial in something, send me a message. I'm usually sitting around here, and we can fire up a Zoom real quick and go for it. So, all right. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Okay, nobody's reaching for the mute button. We
I'm
talked.
gonna say thanks for all of this. I've got to run. It's
Okay.
great to go back and watch your video that Vic had posted on his post. So I had started watching that, and that was helpful too. So thanks so much.
All right. Take care, Patty. Have a good day.
Bye.
We talked about headphones, and we talked about feedback. One thing, and Steve's connection here is a perfect example, and it kind of goes to the way the world is today. There's 50 people on the open mic. You're not the only one. So when you log in and hit unmute and start talking, I suggest, this is just me, listening for half a minute and make sure a conversation isn't going on and somebody's waiting for a reply. And that's just technique in a large group when it comes to online. I do these every day, usually 4 a day for work. My whole work is Zoom now. Somebody comes in late and you just ask for a critical response from somebody, and they come in late, unmute, and say, hey, what did I miss? And next thing you know, somebody else is answering them and you're not getting your answer. So there is a delay, 180 milliseconds, which doesn't seem like much, coast to coast. You can't even get around that. It'll never not be there. So when you ask a question from California to Dom, you have to wait 1,000 until he even heard it, and then the same amount back for your answer. So our open mics go good, but you've noticed that sometimes they fall into mayhem. I mean, there'll be one time when basically nobody was heard. I'm sure nobody was heard, and then everybody's getting frustrated because nobody answered them. So then they do it again, and it's like quicksand, and we just go, right? So, anyways, Beatrice, did you get your? I know you were playing around with your Bumblebee, Queen Bee, and Super Bee. Did you get those figured out?
I've got the Bumblebee today.
Okay. Did you get them figured out which one you like better for guitar?
Not yet. I haven't really had a play since.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Colin, you were making leaps and bounds forward. How are you doing?
The last two Zooms I've had have been okay. I just need to work out how to get Zoom through Reaper, or Reaper through Zoom to be more accurate.
So if you want to use, so you still can't record in Zoom. Zoom's just not recording for you. I don't get that. I do not understand that. I could see where the quality would be a little less, but what you're saying is there is no quality when Zoom, I mean, there is no quality, and that's weird.
I haven't tried it again. Probably 5 days ago was the last time I tried it.
Okay. The only thing I could think of is if you're running through that pedal, the acoustic live pedal, but we have your gain set right. In Zoom, for microphone, what do you have selected? In Zoom.
In Zoom, it's coming through the focus right.
So you have it say, so right here you have Focusrite selected, correct?
Or in system settings, yeah.
Okay.
And also in Zoom. But that'll be picking it up anyway, won't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why a different signal is getting recorded in Zoom than what's being recorded in Reaper, which doesn't make sense to me. But there's many things in this world that don't make sense to me.
But the transmission in Zoom, from transmission to receiving, is good.
Yeah, well, you sound great, and probably if somebody else recorded you, you sound great. So I don't get that one.
It's just when I try to record myself in Zoom, it doesn't work.
Right. Well, you're going to get a better recording on a Reaper anyways, because it's recording exactly what it hears. It's not trying to compress it or anything like that. So.
But we were having a problem last week or 2 weeks ago when I was recording in Reaper and it was good, yet you couldn't, the signal coming through Zoom was, through Zoom was poor. It was crackling up.
Right.
And we just moved the mic and that seemed to fix it, but that wasn't being picked up in Reaper.
Right. Interesting. I know that, especially with guitar, because it's so soft, I mean, even this microphone, this is just a dynamic, it's Beta 57, I think. You move away, and it's less and less and less and less and less. And, I have mine gained up really high, so you could probably still hear me. But it's definitely different. Well, if I was playing guitar and the soft parts, they would just go away. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's sometimes...
But I've moved on a stage now where I'm trying to play through Reaper, through to Zoom. That's what I want to get to next.
Okay. You'll have to somehow be able to route your main left and right from your computer core audio. You Mac or PC?
PC.
Ooh, okay. You'll just have to find a way to make sure Zoom listens to what comes out of your speakers. Because it won't listen to what comes out of Reaper. Reaper sends it to whatever channels your speakers are on. And that's the confusing part. That's why GarageBand doesn't work. Because GarageBand only applies the effects and everything you do to playback. It doesn't apply them to the inbound signal.
Yeah. Well, the Mac have got a fix for that through Loopback, haven't they?
There you go. Loopback is the key. And Loopback's $100. But if you want to spend your time on playing and recording and getting better, that $100 is well spent. because you can get a free one, but you're going to spend a whole weekend trying to configure it to make it work. And if you don't understand even what it's trying to do, it's even harder to configure it. None of them are plug and play except for Loopback. Loopback is probably the easiest one. And a lot of pros use it. A lot of these professional podcasts, when you watch like a mixing video and they're bringing up their mixer and they're playing back tracks and they have people on a Zoom call and they're talking and they're doing all those, they're using Loopback to make sure that the signals from each program go to the right place. Like the video I did last night on the Zoom settings. I had Zoom loaded, but I wasn't recording it with Zoom. It looks like I was recording it with Zoom, but it wasn't. Because when you're recording in Zoom, you can't see that Zoom bar down below that you see on your screen. You know, the mute, the stop video, you can't see Zoom when you're recording in Zoom.
Yeah.
So I had to, you know, just like the old telephone operators had to take a couple lines and just patch them to a different place. So, all right.
From what I can gather, Reaper and ProLogic are pretty much the same.
They are. I mean, they all do the same thing. They have inputs.
So there's a way to. Oh. And there's a way to configure it. I just haven't worked it out yet.
Right. I'm going to tell you, you're going to need to do your auxiliary tracks, which are mirror copies of your input tracks. And then you mute your input tracks and you route your auxiliary tracks
Through to the speak to Zoom.
to Loopback, and Loopback goes to main left and right. And Loopback has to be in there. And that, for Julie, for you, when I said main stage is a very simple program made. A lot of church people use it for live church sound. And you don't need to do that auxiliary track part. You just say input 1, I want these effects, and it goes through core audio, which then you have to get this Loopback add-on program, and you say, I want Loopback to listen to main stage, and I want Zoom to listen to Loopback. Does that make sense? So you'll have this program, and you'll have, just like GarageBand. It looks just like GarageBand. You have GarageBand open. Oops, you guys want to see my email? You have the program open, just like GarageBand, and it monitors your inputs, okay? Then Rogue Amoeba Loopback program monitors main stage, and then Zoom monitors Loopback, and that's how you do it. So this was an easy one. I was going to do a video on how to use a USB mixer instead of an audio interface, but I don't know how many people have those. Does anybody have a mixer that has a USB out? Because you don't always need an audio interface. A lot of people say, oh, you got to get an audio interface and a microphone. That's not true. You really only need a USB microphone. You can buy a Blue Yeti and do a setup just like Julie did with just a single microphone and get good audio and vocal. And that's just a USB microphone. You can record into GarageBand with it. You can do everything. That's one microphone, $130. Or you can buy a 4-channel mixer that has 2-channel USB out. And you can find those anywhere from $50 to $150 on Amazon, depending on which one you get. And the quality doesn't really matter, because all they do is they sum your signal together and send it somewhere. So with the mixer, here, let me grab it. I misspoke a video ago. This isn't the $50 one. The $50 one's on a pedal board I have. But this is 8 channels, $150, and it does have a USB out. So this is my audio interface. So I could take this USB out, plug it into my computer. I could plug microphone in, guitar in if I wanted to. And all these channels get summed together and go out main left and right. And this would be your PA system. This would go out to your PA system if you were performing live. Or it could go out the USB to a left channel and a right channel. And you can record in GarageBand. Everything that's plugged into this mixer will be summed together in a stereo signal left and right. Simple. No, you have gain, and then you have level. So you can set the gain for your microphone. You can actually turn the volume up when somebody tells you to turn it up. You actually have volume. So it's actually a good option. A lot of podcasters use mixers instead of audio interfaces. You guys probably still laugh at me when I say gain is not volume. It's not. Gain is not volume. If you had your electric guitar plugged into an amp and you wanted to play louder, you wouldn't turn up the gain. So go ahead, Stan.
What's the model number of that particular unit?
This one is a Yamaha MG10XU. They make smaller ones. You just want to make sure if you don't want to mess with your audio interface, you just want to make sure it has USB out. But don't be tricked. Because this is an 8-channel mixer, doesn't mean I can plug 8 items into it. I can do that. But this USB out is not going to give me 8 tracks in my DAW. It's only going to give me 1 stereo track. And that's the key. Now, they do have multi-track USB mixers. Tascam's one. There's a few others to where you could throw away all this expensive hardware and buy a $350 mixer that has 8-track recording. 8-track. That sounded cool. Anybody remember 8 tracks? You could have 8-track recording. So that's one way. And if you want ultimate control over your volume and you're going to do the Loudbox Mini route, I'd put a mixer between the Loudbox Mini and the computer. And you still don't need an audio interface as long as it has USB out, because then you get 2 stages where you can change gain, and you also have a master volume. And some mixers have effects too. This one has like 20 effects, but they're not great. But just for like a slight reverb on the entire signal, you can dial in a little bit of that, and it applies it to the whole signal. You're not going to apply one reverb to the vocal and one to the guitar. It's all or none. And it has a compressor. And you probably don't need a compressor until you know what they do, and then you're like, God, I should have had one all along. But it's a weird science, compressing. We use too much. Compressors come with a dial this big, and it goes 0 to 100. And so we're trying to dial in compression, and we're going like this with the dial, trying to figure it out. You need to be going, like just micro changes make a huge difference. So. All right, enough theory. Anybody else? Questions? Ian?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question because this was asked on the in the community, and so I'm going to ask it here in case anyone's watching later, and also because it also affects me. So I'm going to ask the general question and then maybe more specialized. So that prefaced, backing tracks. Someone wants to play to a backing track, so they got an aux in going into something, let's say the TC Helicon that I have.
Yep.
That should go before, well, okay, so that makes sense if you only have that. But now I got to ask it in a different way. So do you want to just generally address the backing tracks issue, or is that the only way? That's basically the way you do it, is you put it into another device. Is that correct?
You have to have it into the device that's feeding your speakers, and Zoom is the speakers. All right, look at Zoom as the speakers. So with your TC Helicon, if you have an aux in and you want to hook your iPod up, or even a loop pedal that has a track on it, you hook it into there. And remember, the TC Helicon feeds the speakers. In your case, or most cases, it feeds the interface, which then feeds the speakers. But as long as it gets in the signal chain, it'll go out. You just got to be careful on volume with backing tracks. so you put them anywhere, and yes, you can do it. And when you start getting into software mixing and everything, you can actually put a click track in your ear that nobody else hears. There's tons of things that can be done with that. That's how a recording studio works. A lot of people, when they record, they're hearing a click track and usually an overabundance amount of reverb in their ear, but it's not getting tracked that way. But they want to hear it when they sing. So,
and my understanding is that's how people are doing these Zoom jam things. When you see like a chorus of people, they're individually recording it, but they're listening in their own ear to the whole thing that's been recorded, or a click track, so they can all sound like they're together.
Those are sleight of hand. Yes, they send a click track, and everybody performs their part to the click track.
And then someone else assembles
somebody else just lines it up and assembles it. They usually have,
post-production.
Right, a 4-count click in, and everybody has to start on one. Otherwise, their input gets rejected. That way, they can align all the video, and they can align all the audio, and then they cut and paste on what they want you to see. I want to do that sometime with our group, but people have to understand what you're doing. So it's everybody can play the same song, but everybody has to play it in the same time. Or even if you're just going to do a mashup video with one screen, they only have to be close, because you can adjust that. But so if you want to play with a backing track in with your TC Helicon, I think you can put that right in the aux in.
And the trick is there to make sure that the volume going into the TC Helicon is low, or
yes,
that's where you control the volume on the auxiliary device.
Yes.
Let's say my phone into the TC Helicon, I got to control it on my phone, keep it lower than everything else coming in.
Correct, because any volume can, unless you had a separate channel on your TC Helicon, which you don't, because aux in just goes out goes out the main outputs. You have to control the volume in. So, I mean, God, a few times now I've heard a backing track, and the backing track came over at iTunes mastered level, and it was like, you couldn't hear the person. So,
Well, I hope that helped people who are thinking about doing that. Now, my other question, more specific to me, now that we've answered that one. So I have this little trio pedal, which basically what it does is when I play a chord progression, and then I push the button, it says it's learning it. I do a chord progression, hit it again, and it gives me a bass and a drum track.
Right.
That matches my chord progression, more or less, or whatever. And then I can adjust these things.
Right.
So where would this go in the chain to the TC Helicon? Is that also going in guitar to this?
Yes.
Because it has to go in. And I was going to try it out today, but of course this morning, you may have seen my video going on and off. That's because I would need a second 1/4-inch cable to go in, one to go from the guitar to here, the other one to go from here to the Helicon.
Yep.
And I do have two, but of course this morning that one's MIA.
Oh, nice.
So I can't exactly test it today, but I'll test it during the week. And
do you have any pedal board pedals, little short patch pedals, or cables? You only need those short ones. You just put it next to your TC Helicon.
Yeah, no, they're all there's only two, and they're both the same, whatever they are, 5 or 6 foot cables. So
Okay.
maybe next time. Assuming there's a next time, Brandon.
That'd be interesting, because it's the same thing. An octave pedal would go in the same place in the signal change, because you don't want to octave your effects. You want to send the octave and have effects applied to it. If that makes sense.
Because that's the kind of backing track that I'm thinking of doing, not having a full band backing track, but doing my own little thing, and then I could actually play to it, on the live jams or whatever.
The other thing you could do is you could plug that into a loop pedal. Put an RC3 after it, and just play before the jam, and just play what you want, and then record the trioed loop on your RC3, and then put your RC3 on an aux or whatever, and just hit that and play.
I'm going to ask a stupid question now. What's an RC3?
Oh, it's a Boss loop pedal. It's the smallest loop pedal.
Oh, okay. The loop pedal, whatever the loop pedal is. I think
it's a really common one, and it has 100 spots that you can save.
Okay. Yeah, I just have a plain. It's like a clone Ditto.
Right.
It's a really tiny one, and it just does one track looping or whatever.
TC Helicon probably has looping on it.
It probably does. I think it does.
Everything does now. Go ahead, Beatrice. I saw you
Thanks,
waving.
Colin. I appreciate that. And thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't waving. I was hitting my space bar to say yes, it does.
Oh,
So the big
okay.
paper. But since I'm here, I was going to ask about Logic Pro. You did a session a few times before. I mean, some time ago, and you were explaining that you can feed your sound onto Zoom from Logic Pro that GarageBand can't do. So you were using sort of a bus system.
Yes, that's when you ever hear me refer to loopback. Loopback is a busing system. You need to create auxiliary buses in Logic. Okay. It's just like, in Logic, you create your track and you say, this is input 1, which might be the left hole in your Scarlett. Input 1, guitar. Input 2, vocal. You need to create an auxiliary of the same thing. So you create another auxiliary track and say, this is input 1, and this auxiliary track is input 2. Now, auxiliaries don't go anywhere. You have to tell them where to go. That way, you can take the signal that's coming in, apply an effect to it without recording it. It'll apply the effect as real time and then send it back out with the effect. You can't do that in GarageBand because GarageBand or Logic with a regular track, it only takes your input and sends it to, I call it the recorder. It sends it to where you're going to record it. And then when you hit play, all the plugins are applied to it, so it applies the effect on playback. The difference between an auxiliary track is it will apply the effects real time. Now, word of caution here is real time is not real time. It's, the computer has to do some stuff. So you have to use effects lightly. Reverb's, a nice soft reverb that does this, it's mostly dry, will only be just a few milliseconds lag. So it's hard to monitor in your Scarlett and have an effect on that's a little bit behind because it'll be weird in your ear. So you just take one ear off. If you take one ear off, then you can actually do it. If you want zero latency, then you gotta break out your wallet. That's the bottom line. It's if you want zero latency effects, unless you're going to buy hardware on the floor in your pedal board or whatever, or like you guys have with the voice pedal. If you want to do it through software, you're going to have to. It all comes down to your interface. So my interface processes plugins real time. It has its own processor on the computer. Doesn't do it. So that's a whole nother thing. And it's, I'd love it if some people started getting into that because I'm like really into it. So but it got misconstrued in the beginning that you have to have all this crap for Zoom, and you do not. And I need to stress that every time. Ian the other night used single mic. I've done some of my first ones were just single mic because it was easier. You watch videos on Facebook, like in the Taylor group or the Gibson group, they do them with one microphone. So it's all that's required. It's pretty simple.
Just FYI, that single mic thing I did was into a field recorder as my interface. It wasn't even into a Scarlett or my big interface. Right. I've been using the field recorder to do it because as long as it connects into the USB of the laptop, it's the same difference.
Same thing. That's what I mean. A USB microphone will do the same thing. The only issue with some USB microphones is they're a lower quality microphone, but they still do fine. A USB microphone is the simplest way to improve sound quality on Zoom. Just plug it in and go. Plug and go. That way you don't have to plug your guitar in. You don't have to worry if your battery's dead. You don't have to worry if you forgot that the bass knob was not centered and you had all your bass rolled off. everything. Go ahead, Ian.
Muting and unmuting is not good this morning. Or maybe that I'll just blame it on me. So the thing about the USB mic was I used to record into my phone and just my practices and stuff. No video, just straight up into the recording application on my phone.
Right.
And someone said, "Well, why don't you try a USB mic?" And I didn't know what I was missing until I had that. And then when I got the field recorder and used a real mic, then I realized what I wasn't missing before that. So each one is an incremental step, but not necessary at all. Just
Right.
it gets better and better if you're picky.
Yeah, it's all about your threshold and what we're trying to do. But basic Zoom, sitting around the campfire, 'cause that's really what it is. Some people have taken it to the next level, and they're fun to listen to. But really, if we were passing a guitar around the campfire, nobody's going to say, you got your pedal board handy? I really need, to add this to it. But I don't know. It's all fun for me. Fun. And I am not the expert. I've probably been playing guitar less than most of you, but I have a lot of free time, and I'm obsessed with figuring out why things sound good or sound bad.
Don't sell yourself short, Brandon. You're the expert around here.
Well, there you go. I've just taken the time, and everybody's done this. You get into a new hobby or you get into something new, whatever it is, and you start buying stuff. And most of that stuff, once your hobby or event or whatever your project has gotten along, most of that stuff you bought in the beginning is in the closet. Okay. And then you're using the stuff that you really needed that was actually useful. So, and I hate that. And so if somebody would have just told me, that this is what you're going to get out of it. I remember I bought a Scarlett just so I could plug my electric guitar into my laptop and quiet practice. And then when I had that all set up, I realized I didn't need any of this. I didn't need any of it. And, so it just keeps going on like that. And then I bought this PA speaker because I wanted to practice listening to myself in a speaker. Well, then I bought a mixer because I couldn't figure out the PA speaker's knobs. So I bought a mixer to go with that. And then it's like, well, my electric guitar or my acoustic guitar plugged in sounds like an electric guitar. So then I bought an acoustic preamp pedal for it. And it's like, okay, that made a difference, but I don't like the reverb. So then I bought a reverb pedal for it. And then I bought an octave pedal because I saw a video where this guy was playing this cool lick with an octave pedal. And I was like, man, if I get an octave pedal, I'm going to sound just like that. Well, no, you don't. You still sound the same, just one octave lower. So it's the stuff hasn't gone to waste because I am learning how to use a lot of it now. And actually, my pedal board. I don't know if you can't see it back there. I mean, I have a giant pedal board that has everything on it, even voice stuff. It sounds good now. It didn't sound good when I built it. So not to waste, but not needed. And all this audio stuff that I showed you guys last week, that was instead of my Gibson J200. I just, one less guitar on the wall, and I spent that money on building a little studio. So some people would say, that's stupid, you need another guitar. And it's like, I don't know, there's only room for one in my lap. So, so the guitar's coming. I'll get it. I'll show up with my blingy Gibson soon enough. So, anyways, anybody have anything to add? Quip? Good story? Go ahead, Beatrice. You can just unmute and talk. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to interrupt. It's a different question. It's about video. When you record yourself playing singing, and you want to do your own backing track, and so you record yourself playing the backing track on video as well, and then you just want to do a solo on that backing track. Do you know how to combine the two videos to
Yes and no.
Like I've seen Julie and Steve doing, or was it Steve? You were doing, a video of two of your images blend into one. But then I know you've done before. You've done videos with like a little square inside one of the videos, sort of together. So I
Go
was
ahead,
just
Steve.
wondering if you need a special software to do that.
Ask Julie.
Go ahead.
Anyone?
Go ahead.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Julie.
We lost your sound for some reason. I don't know why.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. I use Filmora, and it allows me to use 4, 5, 12 videos if I want and juxtapose them on one screen. Or you can use iMovie, which allows you to add 3 or 4 effects to it, and you can blend your videos and your tracks at the same time.
Right.
Okay.
But
As far as getting the audio to go is I record the video and the audio. I record a track in Logic audio only, and I also record video at the same time. You got to set your sample rates the same, otherwise your video will end sooner. So you got to make sure your sample rate's the same. I record them both, so I have a video with audio on it, and then I have a stub or a track that's just audio through the microphones and everything that I'm using, the studio stuff. And then in Logic, you can drag the video into Logic as a track. And this is really cool. So you can mix down your audio, all right? And do whatever you want to do and fix your audio, drag the video in. Will strip the audio out if you want, and you can bounce the studio quality audio into the video. Now, if you want to blend more than one video, I just add the good audio to all the videos. And then in iMovie, because it's free and I haven't gone down the video route yet, so once again, what Julie says is probably trumps what I'm saying. In iMovie, you just bring all the tracks in and you just cut the sections you don't want. And as long as if they're all in time, it doesn't matter. When the whole thing is bounced out, it's bounced out as one. So I haven't gone down the video route. I used to make videos for high school kids to send to colleges. So I had to take a lot of videos and put them together, but I did it really rudimentary way. Filmora is pretty cool. I know that. So.
How do you call it? Filmore. Filmore, is it?
It's Filmora, isn't it?
Filmora. Yes.
Filmori?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one that does that, but it's expensive, is what's the Apple's video program? No, they make a pro version like Logic.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I purchased Filmora because I wanted to get away from. I didn't research what Apple had to offer.
Right.
But I found that whatever you get with iMovie is so rudimentary, and Filmora offered enough for me to play with.
Right. That's what they do. Is iMovie is God, what's it called? I have to look it up now because it's bugging me. But GarageBand. A lot of people say, why do I want to spend $200 for Logic when it looks just like GarageBand? But it does Logic is used in the professional industry. So, but it has the GarageBand look and feel, so you can transition to it. So iMovie and Final Cut Pro, I think it is.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah, it's $299, but that's all. See, that's used in professional video studios, but it's a souped-up version of iMovie. So they just give you enough for free to get into it, and then but it's still a lot cheaper than any Adobe product. Pro Tools, to buy Pro Tools is 3 times as much as Logic Pro, and it does nothing different. Nothing different. So, except for compatible with Mac most of the time. So, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, I just wanted to add for Beatrice and anyone who's thinking about doing this, the way I've seen it done, when you're going to combine audio and video tracks or multiple video tracks or what have you, you got to do at the beginning like those old-fashioned clap things you see in the movies, because or slap, make an actual clap, because then you can time the videos, everything will match. Otherwise, you're going to start playing around with a couple of seconds off here and there and trying to shift it. And if you have a slap at the beginning, you'll know where those are on both of them, and you could line those noises up.
It's actually what those clicker things were for.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that's what they were for. So
To match the audio to the video.
yeah,
Thank you.
one thing though is your video has to be at the same speed as your audio, and it's usually not. So cool. Now we're gonna get into video. Create. That's more stuff. I've done a little bit of podcasting in the past too. That's how I know about OBS and how to do picture in picture and change scenes and do all that. I haven't bestowed that onto a Zoom meeting yet. I actually was thinking about it to where I could take my studio layout, OBS studio layout, and you'll think you're looking at Zoom, but you're not. So you're looking at Zoom as an insert into that, and then you can do all the transitions. And then I could share the Zoom screen. See, that's the whole thing. If I'm trying to teach you how to use Zoom, I can't even share the Zoom screen. I can share the settings screen. But if you looked at the video I did last night, I was sharing the Zoom screen, and that's the key. So, all right, sounds good. Everybody's good on sound and the setup. And this, like I said, this is more of a where to look, where to find your own answer, understanding the signal chain, person, guitar, microphone, interface, Zoom. I mean, it's just, if you understand that, it's like plumbing. It's like plumbing, and you have to make the quality of each section from the beginning to the end. That's how you do it. You don't do it the other way. You don't start at Zoom and work back to you. So microphones do make a difference. They really do. But don't go buy $1,000 microphone, because you're still going to be off key. So that's just me. I have some mid-grade microphones, and I will tell you that you can tell the difference. You can definitely tell the difference. If I turn on, let's see, where's my SF7B? Oh, there we go. I think this one's already on. Can you guys hear me in this one? I mean, this is a good sounding microphone. And it makes a huge difference. That one's running through a tube amp. I should have turned the reverb off so you could hear it. This is just the microphone with no reverb. There's just something about this model and the size of the diaphragm. It's dynamic microphone. A lot of albums been cut on this microphone. It just sounds good. I think it sounds good. But it's different.
There are microphones for voices as well, Brandon.
Right. No, absolutely. You got to find the right thing for everything.
Your voice sounds good on the one behind you, but someone else's voice may not sound as good.
Right. No, somebody, I can hide behind that microphone in the tube. I have the tube saturated, so I can hide behind it. So all the little mistakes when you sing are just kind of swallowed up in the warmth of the microphone. So that's reverb. I love hiding behind reverb. So I can hold notes forever with reverb. Oh, anyways, I think we're winding down here to the end of this. Unless you guys just have a boring afternoon or evening in the UK and you have nothing better to do. But does anybody want to play something or add anything? I'm going to tell you though, when I made my little soapbox spiel about being on mute, you guys all stayed on mute the whole time, which is awesome. In a large group, it's super important. Not as important in our little 9-person group here, but I don't know. I felt like I had a little power there. You guys were all like, okay, I better mute. He's going to yell at me for not muting. I am not the sound police, by the way.
To be fair, it also when you show, I've watched the recordings after the fact, even though I was here sometimes, just to refresh myself on a couple of things. And I think the recordings are whoever's speaking. So if you're not on mute, it keeps jumping back and forth between frames.
Yeah, I was lazy this time. I usually do the spotlight view, and I decide what's up on the record. I was in gallery view this time, and I kept forgetting, so I don't know what the recording will look like. I mean, the very first one, it was stuck on Jan or somebody. I don't know. It was stuck on them almost the whole video. I felt bad because, I mean, it was a good session, but it was the same person sitting there. And at least she was like really into it and nodding and everything, but it's the same person the whole time. So anyways. All right, let's wrap this up. Unless you guys want to keep going. It's up to you guys.
Thanks, Brandon. It was useful information.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon.
Right, thank you. And thank you, Julie. And
God, everybody's so polite. I'm going to cut you. I'm going to interrupt you. You're so polite. Everybody's waiting their turn. All right. Well, I thank you guys. And I'm going to stop recording here. And then I don't think I said anything bad tonight. I don't think I'm going to watch it. See, one of them was 3 hours long, and I had to watch it all the way through to see if I said something that I shouldn't have said. I don't think. So it takes a couple hours to encode, and then it'll be up there. These long ones are no fun to upload to YouTube. So, all right, everybody enjoy the rest of their weekend. We'll see some of you on Thursday's open mic and others of you on Friday. So good luck, all. All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
Brandon.
All right, be
Thanks,
good.
Brandon.
Be good.